Michael Rapaport,
Hey,
you're
man.
a perfect person to ask about this. We're just talking about Serena
Yes.
and everything going on with Serena. Did you see the cartoon?
There's this
Yes.
Australian newspaper.
Yes. Yes.
Do you see the? I see the racialness of it. Jim disagrees with me in
It's
it.
a
What do you see?
caricature.
I mean, I see the racialness of it. I see the racialness of it, absolutely. But it is a caricature, and I don't think it's. I see the racialness of it. I mean, listen, the fucking political correct police. And okay, so the dude made a racial thing. What do you want to do?
But look
Right,
at the rest
that's
of the
kind
cover
of
too.
where
Show
I'm
the
at,
rest of the
too.
cover too, because there's it's a whole cover of caricatures. It wasn't like they just did this with her.
He's got a bunch of them.
The whole right.
The
top-
second
top
image
right.
there, right? The
Yeah, I mean,
whole
what
cover.
No, the cover.
the whole cover, bud.
That's what the cover. Look at
right? They all look crazy.
everyone's a
Yeah,
caricature.
they look fat and distorted and all that stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, they look at Trump. I mean, is that racist? He looks. I mean, it's something. He looks like a piece of shit.
Yeah.
So obviously, I think that the Serena thing. You know what I can say about the Serena Williams? I'm Serena Williams' biggest fan. I fucking love her. She's
Right.
one of my favorite athletes. I've always loved her and Venus, their story, their whole takeover into tennis, their father, how they came into the game and all that stuff.
Was her father a tennis player? I don't know much about him.
Their father?
Yeah.
No, their father never played tennis, but he was watching tennis, and he was like, "My daughters are going to be tennis players." He learned about tennis. I mean,
Okay.
it's a crazy story. In Compton, they had no tennis courts. He read a book about it, watched some matches, and was like started coaching not one daughter, two daughters to be the best tennis players ever.
That is odd, right? That he just had an
Odd.
idea, like just to go-
Fucking, if you put it in a movie, you'd be like, this isn't.
Yeah.
Is that what LeVar Ball is kind of trying to do with his kids?
Yes,
Turn
but
them
it's
into basketball
tennis
players?
and it's girls
Right,
and it's
and it's
black girls
Compton.
in tennis.
Yeah.
So it's so. I mean, when they did it, it was like, I mean, when they came into the game, black girls in tennis with braided hair was like, and these were not like girls that were like meek and soft. Like they were like, we're here, we're kicking fucking ass.
Right.
Like they created a whole genre of tennis. Like the brand of tennis they play will only be played by the Williams sisters. It's like smash mouth tennis. So their stories, you should check it out. Anyway, so to answer your question, especially after seeing the artist's other work, which of course no one else does. I mean, I don't get into this. Okay, so if it's he sees it is what it is to me.
He's
Yeah,
just
that's
doing a
what-
cover of caricatures about the week's stories. I
I kind of
guess.
see the racialness of it, but like I said, I don't like. Okay, like got it, like that. Yeah,
And
I
the other
wouldn't.
characters are fucked up too.
They're all
Yeah.
fucked up.
They're all fucked up.
Because
So-
how else would
so-
you make a caricature like she's just being? She looks like she's being petulant and being a baby.
And
'cause
look
she
at
had
Kim
an-
Jong Un. Is that racist?
Right. Look at the size of his lips. Look at his lip. His lips
true.
are huge. And he looks fucking
So
semi-retarded.
obviously, the writer, the artist, accentuates something he sees in you. Look at Trump. As much as I can't stand him and his fat, flabby neck, it's way bigger than it is in real life, and it is pretty big in real life.
But he accentuated like in Kim Jong Un. He didn't like accentuate the Asian eyes. You know what
they're
I mean?
shut.
Yeah,
they're
the
open.
thing.
and also the thing about her, Sam, is she's yelling. Like her mouth had to be accentuated because she's throwing a temper tantrum. This wasn't like she got pulled over driving. She was jumping. She's basically jumping up and down, stomping her racket. He's saying that she's throwing a temper tantrum.
Yeah. being petulant, like you said.
especially when
Screaming.
Listen, I think that we are in such a fucking like crazy time in terms of what is the news cycle, and it just hang on to something and hang on to something and then other things will just big things, important things,
Right.
tragedies, school shootings will be like for an afternoon.
It's a
and you'll
blurb,
never
yeah.
hear it again.
It's amazing.
But we're still talking about Serena Williams, a cartoon, and we're still talking about the Nike thing. And then when there's real things that happen to real people, it'll just be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But we want to hang on to this.
The
Race
Serena-
is the big one, though. Race is the big one.
It is the big one.
Race
The
is
Serena
the big
thing
one.
happened on Sunday. When we didn't talk about it, when we didn't talk about it on Monday, I was like, okay, we're not going to talk about it on the show. I guess it's over. It's Wednesday. We're finally getting to it, but it's because it's still a topic of the day when, you're right, all this other stuff that's real news kind of goes away after about 24 hours and nothing comes of it. Nothing.
Real news.
Right.
Tragic news. So, excuse me. I mean, it's crazy that, the Kaepernick Nike thing is still, like these little random schools we're not using Nike and all this stuff. And the racial implications around the Kaepernick Nike thing, it's like, just say what is offensive. It's not because he's kneeling. It's not because the players are kneeling. Because if they were kneeling for homelessness, if they were kneeling for lack of funding in public schools, no one would say a fucking word. They'd be true patriots, heroes, and ground shaking, important people. But it's black athletes kneeling for a cause that a lot of people don't see as a cause, and then it's the flag and the embarrassment. Bullshit. If they were kneeling because of the amount of stray dogs in the country, people would be like, aren't these guys so sweet? It's like, just say what the fuck you have a problem with. Stop trying to make it seem like patriots and is offensive to the flag. Bull fucking shit.
How about the military guys that object, though? Because there's a lot of military guys.
There's a lot of military people that have said they support them.
No. But I mean, are the military guys that don't support it and are saying, because like I fought for this country, a lot of them are saying that their reason is just because they feel it's disrespectful to the flag.
But there's a lot of military people that have said they don't have a problem with it.
But the question is, military people, I think what you're asking is the military people that object to it
are objecting for flag reasons and not necessarily race.
But I'm saying there's also military people that are saying, I don't have no problem with it.
Sure, but you're saying the people who are objecting on a racial basis.
I'm saying the majority of the people that are objecting to it.
You think it's a race thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's a race thing, and I'm so sick of just the one thing I like about a certain kind of racist is if you say it right there, then it's cool.
Right.
But stop fucking beating around the bush. Get your fucking big racist balls.
Just say it.
Grab those fucking racist balls and say what the fuck you gotta say.
That is true.
I don't want these black motherfuckers kneeling. It offends me. They have no right doing it. They should be happy to be making a living, and that's what the mentality is.
But don't you think a lot of people don't think that consciously? Like even deep
Yes,
down,
they
that's
do.
how they feel.
It's not
It's
deep
not
down.
outward.
It's right below their mouth.
Some people,
know.
yeah, and some people I don't think even, because Patrice had a great point one time. He goes,
Exactly.
I've never met a racist. He said, I've never met, or everyone says they're not, even though there's a lot of them.
And I think most people believe that they're not, even though if
You gotta
you
be pretty
really broke
hardcore.
down their ideas, they kind of are.
You gotta be pretty
We're
hardcore.
in a racist revival right now.
You got to be pretty
We are in a racist
hardcore
revival.
to come out and go like, yeah, I'm a racist. I don't like blacks, even to yourself.
I think there are more people feeling comfortable doing that now than
maybe, yeah,
recently.
But I think a lot of people don't even realize. They're like, no, I don't. No, I'm not a. Because most people you talk to, like, no, I'm not a.
Right.
But then you hear what they're saying, and like, yeah, a little bit you are.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more of that
Yeah.
than there is people being outward about it.
I don't know what honestly, I can't. I don't know what it is because I don't care if they kneel or not. I mean, it doesn't matter to me either way. You
Right.
can or you don't have to. I don't give a shit.
Right.
But and that I think
I don't
is
care. The Kaepernick's this good. Do the commercial with him. Like, who cares?
That's the logical
That's what I'm
response,
saying.
right? Like, if you want to kneel. What
Go ahead.
difference does it make?
Do what you want.
You don't want to wear Nike? Don't wear Nike, dumbass.
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
care. I don't care. Burn your fucking feet
But
off.
I also love, too, that that's what becomes a story. This idea that people are burning their shoes. They're not burning their shoes.
You're not burning your shoes.
Two people burn shoes.
Yeah.
Nobody's burning shoes.
And some people bought socks to cut them to show it on Instagram. You bought socks to cut them up to show it on Instagram. Give me a fucking break.
That just means you're gonna need new socks faster. You're doing Nike a fucking favor.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
So it's so stupid. But
it's crazy. It's a crazy time.
How's your podcast doing? Because you left Barstool and you doing okay?
oh yeah, we're doing better than ever.
You are.
What happened with Barstool? Because I wake
You know
up
what?
one morning
I'll be honest.
and
I can't. You could read between the lines. I can't talk about that right now.
Is
I've
there-
talked about
are
a
there-
lot about.
Are there legalities involved?
I'm not saying anything about it. And I say a lot about a lot of things. I've said things that could be taken out of context in the first 15 minutes of this show. That thing. So let's just say I can't, and I'm not going to say anything about it.
Will you?
Okay. But you are a guy normally comfortable with talking about anything, but this is one you just.
Is there
no
more?
comment. Okay.
Is there more to it than just you said anybody that calls himself a stoolie is an idiot, and they said, well, then you're fired? Is there more to it than that?
I can't comment on that right now.
Wow.
Interesting.
I can't
Wow.
comment on that right
For
now.
you, I mean, most people would be
You,
like,
you
roll
get the
eyes. But
insinuation. I can't comment on that right now.
for you to not comment, there's something there.
Oh yeah, there's a lawyer involved.
Yeah. Wow.
Do you have any feeling on Pat McAfee leaving? Did you know Pat?
Yes, he's a good dude.
He is a good dude.
You know, it's. I'm not surprised.
Okay.
I am not surprised at all
With what happened or that he left?
with what happened and that he decided to leave because I think in any world that if you're you know that something is sort of appearing to be something and it's not, and you're about your business and a man of integrity, eventually you're going to be like, I don't need this.
Right.
Do you think that there will be a public update on the Michael Rapaport Barstool relationship?
Do I think?
Do you think in the coming weeks? Maybe?
Well, I won't. I don't speak on them.
You do not.
But there might be a public. You know,
On a public level, will people find out more information? Maybe.
I mean,
Who knows?
People find out about a lot of things. I will not be speaking on it at all.
But there could be people talking.
There could be other
Okay.
people that
Okay.
talk about it.
I
Sure.
get it. I get it. I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
You think you could smell what the Rapaport's got cooking? Rapaport's smell what the you smell that?
I think so. So, do you? I mean, in this world that we live in, you're an outspoken guy.
Am
Yeah, a little bit. But I was thinking because I watched the first season of Atypical.
Yes.
I was excited when I saw the second season was out. I haven't watched it yet, but it's
Why not? Why haven't you watched
I just
the
haven't-
whole thing yet? It's been out 5 days. You haven't watched all 10 episodes?
You're offended, right?
Yes.
Do you worry because Atypical is like this great sort of family show? It's about a mom. It's about a family. The kid is autistic, but it gets into all around family dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to give any spoilers, I guess, of the first season in case people haven't seen it. You should watch both seasons. But do you worry that at some point your outspokenness is going to take away your opportunity to play a lovable dad?
No. I don't worry about that. And I'll say it has crossed my mind. I've had conversations with different people about it. In regards to not going too far in what you say. I don't think I speak recklessly. I think that when I speak about things that are important to me, I do it from a place of love, even though sometimes I know that I'm not right. I've made mistakes. I've said things even that have nothing to do with anything. Really important that, when I find this, when I tweet and I write, is when I've gotten into trouble. When I verbalize myself on a video, I have had no problem. When I tweet, when I put something in writing,
Right.
like the 250 words, for me, as a comedian and as a performer, innuendo, sarcasm. If you're
Inflection,
saying it,
yeah.
So if I go, Jim is a fucking asshole.
That's a statement of fact. I couldn't say it.
No, but if I put that in Twitter, if I go, Jim and Sam are fucking assholes, and I say it on Twitter, then they'll be like, what the fuck's your problem with Jim and Sam? But if I go, Jim and Sam are fucking assholes, those fucking guys, you're going to hear the inflection
Sure.
that I'm breaking balls.
Absolutely. Saying it is much different.
Twitter takes
I've-
away context too because it's limited.
Yeah.
It's in a vacuum.
But just from the inflection, Jim,
Yes.
and you could see a smile on my face,
Yes.
or you could hear the tone of whatever makes something funny. So I have found when I tweet something, that's when I've gotten into like it's been misconstrued, and at times I go, "Fuck, I didn't mean it like that." But I also know that if you're going to do it, like a lot of times people get into this. I'm not going to apologize. I stand by what I say, and I don't think that means you're strong, you're tough, you're a man of integrity. I think sometimes you should apologize. You should clarify
If you're sorry, yeah.
or if you didn't mean it to come off that way.
Sure.
Especially if so in when you write something like so like a lot of I stand by what I say. I'm not backing down. I'm not apologizing. All right, well you cannot do that. But if I know there's no points in that if you know that what you said was misunderstood, or you know, like your hair grows, you shave it, it comes like you can grow, you can change. You know, ideology, theories, thoughts can change. You know, for somebody like me that talks a lot of shit, sometimes you talk shit, and when you get too close to a person, you could spit on them. I didn't mean to spit on you. I'm just talking shit, so I apologize for spitting on you.
Right, because that's a different level of disrespect that you didn't intend.
There's a difference between an apology that you mean when you say something that comes off wrong and a groveling apology that's insincere.
Right. And so in regards to Atypical, which is, you know, started streaming last Friday and is on Netflix now, although Sam didn't see
I saw the first season.
Yeah, he refused.
And Jim, I don't think you saw it. I don't even think you know why the fuck I'm here.
I just like you. I'm always happy you're here. I didn't even know what Atypical was.
You know,
well, first season's great.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that, you know, the opportunity to play a character that's different than my public persona is great. You know, I've had, you know, great opportunities throughout my career, you know, to sometimes get away from what people might think I can do or can't do as an actor. And this is just another one of those opportunities. And it's also on a show that I think is resonating with a lot of people for different reasons. So I'm really happy about that.
Has the reverse happened? Because your character's a very sweet guy.
Yes.
On Atypical. He's kind of the... I feel like your character's the moral center ground of the whole show.
Right.
Are there people that like niceness and family shows and stuff like that watch this show, fall in love with you, and then like listen to your podcast or Twitter or something like that and go like, what the hell is this guy's problem?
I mean, I haven't seen that yet, but I'm sure there are. But you know, we're in a different time now with actors. The mysterious Dustin Hoffman, Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro days are done. You know, there's only
the mystique.
Yeah, like you can't be a born and bred movie star at this point without the world knowing a little bit about you. You know, there's very few left. DiCaprio is that, but he's been around for 20 years. Ryan Gosling's kind of on the tail end of that. But aside from those guys,
who's left? Do you think? I mean, Nicholson is still one of those older guys, but
those guys can do it. But infers like a 20-year-old guy who's going to become a star. Nah, you need to get a Twitter account.
You need that social media following.
Yeah, you need we're going to get you on Access Hollywood. You're going to come on here like that. Warren Beatty Mystique, Jack Nicholson Mystique shit. That shit it's a different business model now.
Yeah.
Even Will Smith, Julia Roberts, the president.
Will Smith is vlogging.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got a YouTube channel.
Well, they can video you now just talk. The idea of seeing a celebrity talk on a talk show, it used to be like, oh my God, this one's talking. Now you don't give a shit because they're talking in their Periscope videos. Or there's nothing special about it anymore.
So it's a different time for the actors and stuff like that. And for me, in regards to my podcast and you know, my Instagram, which, you know, is caught on with a lot of people for the shit talking reasons, for the views I take, whatever it is, you know, I try to be as honest as I possibly can, and if I do say something that is offensive and that I regret, then I'll deal with that.
Do you like the heat? Do you like the smoke? Because when I post something and people disagree with it, I hate it. I hate getting people to be like, no, you're wrong on this. I don't go like, oh, it's a dialogue. This is fun. I'm like, oh, I just want to like.
It depends. It depends. I don't like it. I don't like, you know, people just, you know, coming at me. I don't like if my intention of what I was saying is misconstrued. That I don't like.
When they think they know why you said it, and it's like that is a little annoying. Yeah,
and like, you know, like you're a racist. Oh, you're offensive. You know, like, but then it kind of makes my. You know, my flex. I'm like, fuck you. Like, I go deeper into it, like, fuck you, and that's how I deal with it, because you know, no one is righteous. You're on Twitter. Mm-hmm. You ain't doing shit. You're not righteous. You're like, you know, like, I'm like, come on, please. And my personal policy about Instagram and Twitter is that if you say something that I deem offensive to me, I'm going to look at your avatar. That's all I know about you. You could look up 20-something years of Michael Rapaport, find this picture, this one, that one, this all stuff. I'm going to talk about whatever I see in the avatar. If it's your mom, your cat, your dog, your kids, whatever I see in the avatar.
You won't take the higher road.
That's all you have. That's all you have.
So, and then they're like, well, you're talking about my wife. I go, yes. Look at this animal. I'm talking about. So, but it's just I don't know. It is what it is.
Because they have so much on you to go on. You have nothing. So when a guy's just insulting you and you want to insult them back, it's difficult to do when you know nothing about the person. So you either defend yourself, which sounds too defensive, or you insult an egg. There's nothing you can say about them, which is why a lot of times just muting or blocking works.
Yes.
As opposed, unless you think it's a guy if it's a guy that has a decent amount of followers and you know that he's speaking as himself, then you can address it. But
exactly.
Do you like how but you also like. Some actors are okay just building a fan base based on their work.
Yes.
It feels like you like having an army of people that support you, as Michael Rapaport as the person with his point of view.
I do like that. And like it just sort of happened. It just sort of happened over the last few years when I've started doing things my stuff, whether it was the Tribe Called Quest documentary or my book that I think I came here to talk about it, or whatever, and it brought out a different sort of way that I share myself, I'm comfortable with that. I've always been the same person. It's just there wasn't 70,000 talk shows. There wasn't Instagram. There wasn't YouTube stuff. There wasn't all these forums where you could be like, oh, people have sort of seen it, but it's not like I've changed. It's just sort of like I've shared more of myself with the world in terms of I've always been a shit talker. That's how I started. I got into comedy and got into acting. Like my whole life I talk shit.
You were doing stand up first.
Yes, for a short period of time. I was never at the level, I was never highly skilled stand up, and I was so young. But yeah, I started doing stand up and then quickly started getting called in for auditions, and then when I started acting, the first time I read a scene off a page, it was just this is more natural than anything I've ever done. It literally felt like it took a fish and threw him in the water and he could swim. I just was like that. I was
just comfortable.
Completely comfortable.
Do you remember the first thing you landed? I'm sure you do.
It was the first thing I landed was a show called China Beach, an ABC show that was a big hit at the time. It was 20 lines, a couple of little scenes, but man, I was just in heaven, and it was the validation because growing up, I always wanted to be a professional basketball player, and I never even came close to that. And then when you're I want to be an actor, and then you go in an audition, you get the part, and then you're on a set, I was like, man, it was such a fulfilling thing. It was if I still to this day, I had one the other night. I told my wife, she laughed. I said, I had a dream that I was playing for the Detroit Pistons. I don't know why I was with the Detroit Pistons, but I still have dreams that I play professional basketball. And when I did that China Beach and the first few things, it was that elation, oh man, I can't believe I'm doing this. And I think that's why I still have dreams of playing basketball, because although I don't even play basketball, it's still a big part of my life. It was such a part of my DNA to dream about that for so long that I still to this day have actual hoop dreams.
How long were you auditioning before you finally landed that?
About a year.
Oh, so there was a lot of failures first.
Yeah, to be honest, it wasn't that many. I got lucky. I got lucky. If you about a year, you're well, I've been auditioning for 6. I got nothing.
That's true.
I was lucky. It was the right part at the right time, which led me to the other things. And I was lucky. I didn't suffer as an actor, but I think a lot of that was because of my mindset about it. I was not scared. I've always been a good auditioner, which, as you know, is half the fucking... you could be a great actor and be not good at auditioning, and you won't get jobs. Straight the fuck up, especially when you're first starting out. And I was always a good auditioner. I was comfortable with it. I enjoyed the competition of it. And I did well in it. And then I got jobs because they're two different sports. It's literally like playing lacrosse and tennis. They're two different skill sets, auditioning and actually being an actual television or film actor. So I got lucky, and I've had a bunch of good breaks.
Speaking of trying to figure out the context of tweets, I was looking, you were tweeting at Joe Budden a couple of days ago, and I couldn't tell.
Friends.
That's what I thought.
Love him.
Yeah.
Friends.
Friends.
So yeah, and his tweets back are you could we're friends, and I love him, and I think he's funny, and he
because he's another one that's made a major career for himself talking shit and having an opinion.
He's a great shit talker. So yeah, we're cool, we're friendly, and we're in a fantasy football league, and I play him this week, and I plan on beating his fucking ass. I told him, I said, Eminem's going to be the last thing you need to be worrying about when this weekend when we start this fantasy football game. So I like him. So, but that's right.
You talk a lot about new hip hop, and you're critical of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the Eminem album came out, you were upset that there wasn't more rappers. Some people did, but there weren't more people responding.
Right.
To the
in a positive or negative way, or just in general?
No,
responding to his insults.
If you're talking shit, like the reason why Eminem made this record, and the reason why Eminem came at people, which, like in his earlier thing, he would just come at people he didn't like. But this was like a response. You've been talking shit about me. Mm-hmm. This one, that one, Joe Button, Die Antwoord, and all these people, and now I'm putting out a record, highly skilled. Tremendously skilled record. This Kamikaze record, like his level of rapping and the art form, it's like some like Ornette Coleman jazz shit. It's like he took it to another level.
He did.
Right? So he's talking his shit. You guys were saying I suck, I'm old, I'm washed up. Okay, here we go. Here you go. I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you too, and no one's saying anything. And I'm like, this doesn't have to turn into some violence. You had a comment about my last record. I'm saying you ain't shit. You have no right to even speak on me. So what's up?
Could it be that they're waiting to respond?
Nah, they
in the
ain't
music?
fucking waiting. They have nothing to say. Like you have nothing to say. And like the one kid came back, and that was good for him. Like it showed
Machine Gun Kelly,
and that was a gallant choice. Like he said things, it was cool. But it's like everybody else. Like if I'm talking to you in Japanese, and I'm saying fuck you, Jim, you bald cocksucker, and I'm saying this in Japanese, and you don't understand me, right?
Yeah.
And you don't respond back to me in Japanese, then there's no argument,
right?
But so he came out as a rapper in rap music, in rap form. There's no tweeting. There's no YouTube videos. There's no podcasting. Either respond back as a rapper or shut up. Take the loss, acknowledge the loss, and don't spit. Now, those same people, Tyler, the Creator, Die Antwoord, you had all these things to say. Now he came at you. Now don't comment on Eminem again. Mm-hmm. Don't say anything about him.
Well, Nicki Minaj walked away from that fight with, who is it, Remy Ma?
Remy Ma.
She eventually just stopped, and it just kind of went away. So I think that's what they're hoping for.
Because she put out a lot more fire after, right? She started putting out hits.
Remy Ma, yeah, and then Remy Ma put out some other stuff. Or didn't Drake stop responding to Pusha T?
Yes.
So, like, I think once in a while, if you kind of get your dick kicked in, you're like, all right, we'll move along. Right. And it didn't hurt Drake at all. So maybe that's the thinking, too.
I agree. But for me, who's a real purist, and hip-hop means so much to me as a fan, it's like, you need to like in the competition of hip hop, it's built on competition. Who's the best? Braggadocious. I got from Rapper's Delight, to I got limousines and watching Knick games and color TVs and all that stuff. That's the sport of hip hop. That's the genre of hip hop. It's part of the music. You have to respond. So when you're talking about like how I was like, hip hop is dead,
right?
And otherwise, and at the end of the day, like don't talk shit if you're not willing to get it back, and if you're willing to get you got to be able to if as a shit talker, you have to be able to take it as good as you give it,
right.
You have to
respond to it.
Yeah, you have to be able to take it. You can't be sensitive. You like if you're gonna talk shit, you have to be able to receive it.
Because other people can talk shit too.
Right, of course.
Other people are good at it too.
Exactly.
So when you get critical of
that was like a threat, Jim. When you say other people are good at it,
when you get critical of young hip hop acts and young rappers and stuff like that, do you ever get to this moment where you're like, oh, maybe this has just passed me by? You know what I mean? Maybe I'm not maybe in my definition of a purist is I just don't relate to young people anymore.
I understand that, and I that is true. I think all great music is spawned and stemmed from youth, whether it's the punk rock movement or the what we call the classic rock movement, like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin. They were 21, 22, 23, blues, like all those artists were young. Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Dizzy Gillespie, that whole gamut of people young. Hip hop, young, 17, 18, 19. Rakim, Run DMC, they're teenagers. So I get that it's sort of it's a youthful sport. I think music at its best is youthful.
Right.
The Rolling Stones, I sit here and love hearing them, watching them perform, but we don't want to really hear no new shit. We want to hear Let It Bleed. We want to hear that old shit. We want to see Mick, thank God he's still alive, sing fucking Under My Thumb. Because that's when you were on fire. So I get that. But to not respect, like we have Mick Jagger, right? We don't have Jimi Hendrix. We don't have the Beatles. We don't have Led Zeppelin. If we did, we would be happy as fuck to see Jimi Hendrix rocking at 80 right now.
Right.
So
Gotcha.
We wouldn't be like, Jimi Hendrix is old as fuck, and be like, look at this motherfucker getting down. You know what I mean? But some reason in hip hop, like you're 40 and all of a sudden you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that, but that's starting to change a little bit. Like with Run DMC touring again, and it seemed like they would do. I noticed that too. There wasn't enough respect to a lot of the older guys.
Yeah.
But it seems like that changed a little bit.
And with like the Rolling Stones, like Mick is 80. He was like, thank God he's fucking still doing it. What would you to be able to see, Jimi Hendrix sitting on a stool? Doing Jimmy, like, how much value with that? Or the Beatles?
Johnny Cash performed until he was dead.
James Brown did it till he was dead.
Yeah.
Sammy Davis Jr. did it till he was dead. Like, like sitting there going, go look at Mick and Keith. Look at them. They're killing it.
Yep.
Right.
And the music still sounds good.
Doing arenas. Football stadiums.
Imagine seeing the Beatles doing like an acoustic setting, or like what he's doing with what Bruce Springsteen was doing on Broadway. Like, imagine that if they were alive and able to do that.
They could sell out forever.
So with hip hop, like I just don't, like I get offended. I'm like, don't eat what made this. Don't like piss and shit on what made this.
Gotcha.
And like with young rappers saying, I never listened to Wu-Tang. Then leave the studio. You should be ashamed of yourself, because if you never listen to Wu-Tang, first of all, whether you're in hip hop or not, your credibility is nothing. But if you're in hip hop and you're sitting here proudly with a smile on your face saying, I never listened to Wu-Tang, be like, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
I've talked to Sway and them. I'm like, shut the mics on these people. Like, you never listen to Wu-Tang and you're proud of that? Mm-hmm. That's something to be embarrassed. That's like saying, like an NBA first round draft pick being like, who's Larry Bird?
That's like saying I've never watched the show Atypical on Netflix.
Right.
Season 2.
Humiliating.
Humiliating.
Jim, you fuck. You can't. Season 1, season 2, the whole weekend.
I will watch them.
Sam.
Trust me, I'm gonna devour season 2. I love season 1.
Michael, by the way, we're running.